6:42 a.m. Western Pacific Time. Before most of the region wakes up, something unusual happens. Multiple early warning sensors operated by the United States and its allies register a sudden spike, a heat signature rising from North Korea's eastern coastline. Within seconds, automated systems begin tagging the event. This is not yet classified as an attack, but it immediately triggers what analysts call a missile anomaly alert. At this stage, no public statement exists. The information comes from open-source satellite tracking and regional detection patterns, not official confirmation. 6:43 a.m. First data lock. Infrared sensors aboard U.S. space-based warning platforms detect rapid acceleration, consistent with a missile launch rather than a rocket test. The trajectory appears eastward. That direction matters. It places the object on a path toward a U.S. missile detection and monitoring zone in the Pacific, an invisible grid where American and Allied radars constantly scan for threats. Still, intent is unknown. Was this a test, a signal, or something more dangerous? At this moment, no one knows. 6:44 a.m. Automated protocols activate. Inside U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, computers automatically escalate the alert level. This does not mean retaliation. It means data fusion. Radar systems in Japan, Guam, South Korea, and aboard U.S. naval vessels begin synchronizing their tracking feeds. Unverified military observers later suggest that at least 3 separate radar arrays attempt to lock onto the missile simultaneously. Still, official silence continues. 6:46 a.m. Japan enters the loop. Japanese self-defense forces receive a classified alert through joint US-Japan early warning channels. Air defense crews are not ordered to fire, but they are instructed to prepare tracking and interception modeling. Civil defense alarms are not activated, indicating that, at least for now, the missile does not appear to be targeting populated areas. This detail strongly suggests a demonstration launch. But again, this is analysis, not confirmation. 6:48 a.m. Trajectory shifts. Here's where things get tense. Updated tracking data shows a slight trajectory adjustment mid-flight. According to unverified OSINT analysts, the missile appears to be climbing higher than expected for a short-range test. This raises immediate questions. Is this a medium-range system? Is it testing detection thresholds? Or is it deliberately entering a US monitoring envelope? None of these are confirmed, but every possibility carries risk. 6:51 a.m. US naval assets respond. A US Navy destroyer operating in the Pacific reportedly adjusts its radar posture. This does not mean weapons are armed. It means Aegis combat systems shift into enhanced tracking mode, allowing the ship to gather high-fidelity telemetry data. At the same time, airborne surveillance aircraft are believed to be repositioning, though this detail remains unverified. 6:54 a.m. The missile peaks. The missile reaches its apogee, the highest point in its flight. This is the moment analysts care about most. From this data, experts can estimate maximum range, payload capability, guidance precision. Unverified tracking suggests the missile does not descend toward any landmass, reducing the likelihood of an imminent strike. But the message is already sent. 6:57 a.m. Global attention quietly shifts. While the public remains unaware, defense ministries across the region are now watching the same trajectory data. South Korea increases readiness levels. Japan continues tracking. US systems remain locked. Still, no missiles are fired. This restraint is intentional. 7:01 a.m. Missile descent confirmed. The object begins its descent phase. Tracking indicates it will land in open waters, far from commercial shipping lanes. At this point, many analysts conclude the launch was not intended to cause damage, but rather to probe reaction times. Again, this assessment is not officially confirmed. 7:04 a.m. Splashdown. The missile impacts the sea. No explosions beyond the expected terminal impact are detected. No secondary launches follow. From a kinetic perspective, the event is over, but strategically, this is only the beginning. 7:07 a.m. The real operation begins. Once the missile splashes down, the focus shifts. Now comes the analysis phase. US and Allied systems begin, comparing radar signatures, measuring response latency, assessing sensor overlap. North Korea may have just tested more than a missile. It may have tested America's eyes. 7:12 a.m. Silence from Pyongyang. No immediate announcement, no celebratory footage, no official statement. That silence is deliberate. In strategic terms, ambiguity is power. Why this moment matters. This was not a random launch. Whether confirmed or not, the event demonstrates detection zones are active, response timelines are shrinking, miscalculation risk is growing, and next, the United States must decide how to respond without escalating. 7:15 a.m. The missile is gone, but the crisis is not by now. The missile has already splashed down into open water. No explosions, no damage, no casualties. To the public, this would eventually be described as another North Korean test, but behind closed doors, this incident is being treated very differently. According to unverified defense analysts, the US does not stand down after splashdown. Instead, systems tighten. 7:18 a.m. US command shifts to Phase 2. Phase 2 is not about interception, it's about response without retaliation. Inside Indo-Pacific Command, analysts replay the launch frame by frame, examining burn duration stage, separation timing, guidance, stability, radar cross-section behavior. These details reveal far more than a press release ever could, and early indicators suggest this missile was not optimized for distance, but for visibility. 7:22 a.m. Unverified reports of defense simulation. According to unconfirmed OSINT observers, US missile defense systems may have conducted a silent intercept simulation. This does not involve firing a missile. Instead, computers calculate intercept windows, probability of kill sensor overlap failure points. In other words, the US may have tested whether it could destroy the missile without actually doing it. This is unverified, but consistent with known doctrine. 7:30 a.m. AIR and naval movements quietly adjust. No dramatic mobilization, no public alerts, but subtle movements begin. Surveillance aircraft extend patrol durations. Naval radar arcs are adjusted. Space-based assets increase revisit rates. These actions are invisible to civilians, but unmistakable to foreign intelligence services. North Korea would see this. 7:41 a.m. Why America did not shoot it down. This is a critical question. Why didn't the US intercept the missile? Military analysts cite several reasons. No direct threat to life interception could escalate. Allowing the launch reveals enemy capability. Shooting it down reveals US limits. Sometimes, letting a missile fly tells you more than destroying it. 8:03 a.m. Diplomatic channels activate. While war planners analyze data, diplomats begin working the phones. Behind the scenes, allies are reassured, red lines are quietly reinforced, escalation pathways are deliberately blocked. There is no public condemnation yet. Silence at this stage is strategic. 8:25 a.m. North Korea's message becomes clear. Still no announcement from Pyongyang. That absence is the message. According to strategic experts, North Korea often announces propaganda launches immediately, stays silent when testing foreign reactions. This launch appears to fall into the second category. 9:10 a.m. Intelligence conclusion. Unverified. Based on available tracking data, analysts tentatively conclude the missile was likely medium range. It was deliberately flown into a US detection envelope. The objective was reaction measurement, not destruction. This was not an attack, it was a stress test. 9:45 a.m. The danger of misinterpretation. Here's the real risk. What if a sensor glitched, a radar misclassified, a commander overreacted? In a system where decisions are made in minutes, misinterpretation could trigger war. That didn't happen today, but the margin was thin. 10:30 a.m. Public narrative begins to form. Hours later, limited reports begin to surface. Missile activity detected. No threat to US territory. Situation monitored. The language is calm, deliberately calm, because panic is contagious. 11:15 a.m. Why this launch was different. North Korea has launched missiles before, so why does this one matter? Because it targeted detection systems, not cities. It tested decision speed, not range. It pushed escalation without crossing red lines. This is how modern conflict evolves. 12 p.m. Strategic aftershocks. By midday, the event is already influencing missile defense funding debates, regional force posture, allied readiness planning. No shots were fired, yet the chessboard has shifted. What then this happened really means America didn't retaliate, America didn't intercept, America didn't escalate. Instead, it absorbed the signal, measured it, and quietly adjusted. That response sends its own message. We saw it, we understood it, and we're ready. Incidents like this rarely lead to immediate war, but they normalize danger. Each launch conditions the system. Each response tightens timelines. Each silence increases risk. The missile didn't start a war, but it reminded the world how close the margins are. This was not a headline moment, it was a threshold moment, and next time, restraint may not hold.